Yo, welcome to episode Fridays. So, as you can see, I have dressed up a little bit, which I think it might give a little bit of a hint of what we're talking about today. Dragons. I would think just a little bit. But how you been doing? It's been a while since we've been on here. So, Mr. Refine, how have you been?
I have been good, but I have been bad at the same time, but good overall. You
So
know what I
like a
mean?
good, bad, and ugly, like we usually do,
Yeah,
right?
something like that. Something like that. Yeah, I can say that.
Man, it's been a while. I gotta say, it's been an extremely long time since we've been on here. We took a little bit of a hiatus to go,
Mm-hmm.
like refine, redevelop, get our stuff together. But we came back strong because we are going to be talking about today. Let me go ahead and add that in here. We're going to be talking about Dota, Dragon's Blood Book 2. This anime again was released earlier this year, so this should be way past the point of being able to spoil anything for anybody. I would say, right? So I can drop all my little spoilers that I want. But this anime dropped earlier this year. It is the second season of Dragon's Blood. We all know that this show is based off of a video game, and I think that this series really tried to bring to light the different characters that we've seen when we played this video game. I've got to say, anything with dragons, as you can see, I dressed like one, and yes, this is a kid-sized costume, so the wings are a little small, but it makes sense. Okay,
It does. It works.
But this one here, I just thought was really, really good. I mean, the animation is beautiful on this thing. The story I thought was pretty interesting. They went which route they went this year or for this season, but overall, I just thought, what, we might as well talk about it. This is the best thing to bring heat, actual heat, because we get to talk about dragons. So, but before we get into any of that, we got to talk about what do we always talk about? What beverage are you drinking today?
Mm.
What you
Well,
got? What you got for me?
since we are talking about Dota and we got medieval and all this old school stuff going on, I'm going with my own homebrew Golden Oasis. This one is a Belgian
Oh,
Saison, 6.28%. And I'm excited about it. I'm ready to get into that. That's what I'm drinking
oh,
on. So
oh,
Golden Oasis is going down. You
oh. Now
already
you
know.
got to think about what would that label look like if you were to make one.
Yeah, I have an idea already in my head, but I got to keep that to myself.
Okay, we don't want to spoil it, right? We don't want to
No,
spoil none of that.
no.
So in this one, I thought, I have to go with my favorite style, which is an imperial stout, right? But as you can
Mm-hmm.
see the cover on here, because I love doing themes, we have a little bit of what looks like death. But this is Sump's coffee stout from Perennial Artisan Ales. And I went with what looks like death because this was a very dark and deadly season of Dragon's Blood. And I thought it would be pretty cool to kind of capture that idea of death because there was a lot of characters that I think that were beloved by many that did make it to the end of this. But again, like I said, we're going to be dropping spoilers because this has been out for a couple of months, so no one can
Yes.
get upset about it. So
Facts.
with that being said, I just want to say, let's get into what our all time thing that we always do, right? What we always get into on this show is trying to understand exactly, you know, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like we always talk about this. So what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do is kick it off with you, Mr. Refine, and I want you to tell me, what did you see as the good on this show?
I'll be honest with you. I thought that the animation on here was dope. The fight scenes were excellent. Like just watching all that stuff play off well. They had a pretty decent storyline, which I'm gonna put my 2 cents on that stuff also. But overall, I love the animation. I love the fight scenes. Storyline was great, and they definitely put it together by having some dope, and I gotta admit, artwork. It was just
Beautiful.
crazy. And I really want to say I love anything dragon. So I think they hit the mark when they had specific characters on there that just touched me here that I really enjoyed dragon wise. So they did their thing on that aspect. And I don't want to get too crazy because I'm ready to get into my bad and my ugly.
I know, right? We got to keep it. Well, we got D on the line.
D's
D,
on
what
here.
up? What up, man? Uh-oh, wait, you muted.
Y'all hear that? Y'all heard that sound?
I know, right?
There
you go. What up, D? What's going on, man?
I was trying to be respectful just because I hopped in. What up, world? No, my good definitely in Dota. I think book 2 didn't hit for me the same way as book 1 did. As far as just kind of the setup and the progression, and I think that's probably Mr. Refine is talking about. But overall, to me, man, I like the bad guys. So, or the antagonist doesn't necessarily mean they got to be the bad guy. So the advisor, shout out to the advisor, hands down. One of the most overwhelming powers, and pretty much the first book. And it was fire at that. Shout out to the shopkeeper whose name I still don't remember or wrote down. Shout out to him. Like, he's definitely a tactician, and I love that. So it's the characters the antagonists especially they just upped it to another level. So I was really happy about that. And then just shout out to one of the dragon hunter, dragon warriors, man. Shout out to one. I forgot him, but he was pretty much one of the elders. So I was looking up his name on my notebook. I just kept flipping the page.
The one with the scar. The one with the scar.
No, not him. No, I'm talking about the one with all the armor.
One who got chomped up quick.
They call father, if I'm not mistaken, or something of that nature. Yeah. He was. Shout out to him and that sword slice, because I'm gonna keep it 100. I don't know if the armor was magically coated or something like that, but that was probably one of the most vicious sword strikes that we saw on a dragon, hands down, from book 1. So, that was my good.
Okay. What you drinking on before we switch?
Shout out. I couldn't get too much, to 7 Day Life. But I got shout out to Almanac Brewing Company. It's called the Rum Barrel Ghost. This is a 13% Imperial Stout. So we're doing good things out here. That's what I was doing. Nice. So we're making it happen.
Very nice.
And then my last one, since I got the wrong camera on, my bad. and then I was wondering, I was like, I'm lifting it up here, like, oh man, I ain't got the
that's
HD
not on there. Hold on.
No wonder the light looked different. But on this one, this is shout out to East Brother. They just hold me down out here in Richmond, California. This is their red IPA. I just got that, and their stout is amazing. But I wanted to try to keep up with the high ABV life, because we ain't taught the Brick in a minute. So what up with you, Brick? I'm trying to hold you down. So this one's 13%, going crazy. 13.3, and then this one's just 7. So I'm gonna start with this one, of course. And I'm gonna let while Suds talks, I'm gonna back out and get this damn camera right.
Well, I gotta say, I think you guys covered a bit of pieces of like what I think is good, what I think is worthy of talking about here. Like you said, the animation is great. I think the storyline, I think they tried to do something a little bit different, which is true. I do agree with that a little bit. I do think they tried to add a little bit more depth to certain characters, but they did kind of come out of left field for some stuff that I was a little shocked by, of what direction they were taking and who was doing what. But I do think that the animation has always been top notch. Netflix has always been delivering beautiful anime that they've been putting out on their streaming service. But I think overall, I think a part of me was hoping, for a little bit more in certain things, but I can kind of say that from my bad. But I do think that for overall, I'd really thoroughly enjoyed it until certain parts have happened. But we're going to say that for the bad and the ugly. So while we're doing that, while Dee's getting ready, let's see. Where do you want to go with your bad? Like, what's your bad for this one?
I actually thought that it was some parts in here that was extremely cheesy. You might have to put up a spoiler alert.
Okay. Hold on. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, go ahead. Just let's put it out there. Let's put it out there. Excuse me. So I'm watching certain aspects of it, and just the Viceroy himself, he he was cheesy to me. He was cheesy as hell in a lot of aspects. For somebody to be so calm, and then all of a sudden you find out he is the guy, the person that's
Yeah.
he is
The
the man.
ultimate.
It just like, could it be more cliche than that? Could it not be more cliche than that? And then the fact that, you know, that's in my ugly. Yeah, it
That's
was
ugly.
cheesy. Yeah, I got some stuff from my ugly in there, but the Viceroy had it very cheesy for me. I could not stand the Emperor, which was her uncle, Princess Mirana. He was a pain in the ass, and it was so funny watching the interaction with him and Lena. And she was like, "So why weren't you doing whatever?" And he was like, "Well, why didn't they have you protect them?" And he's like, "Oh, they got me," but he couldn't explain why he wasn't physically able to do shit. But she like, "Why couldn't he do that?" He's like, "Well, they got me." So it was some cheesy parts in there, mainly with the Viceroy. I'll say that.
You know what? I think it was funny because it was like she had a question for him. She's like, "Yo, so like, why aren't you doing what you like you were saying?" And I think he went along the lines of like, "But I'm a pretty boy, so what am I? You know, I'm not gonna make myself dirty." And so you sitting there going, "Really? So pretty boys don't know how to fight?" You know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
I do agree with you on that. I do think that for the most part, it was like a little bit annoying. I'm not going to say. I think that piece of how they tried to layer in who the bad guy was this time didn't really make sense to me. And like you said, it was like very quiet. There was no hints at it whatsoever, which I think it's like, okay, you kind of figure something was up with old dude. It was just like too calm. I thought they were going to go the spin that he was really her dad, but they didn't really go that route because I was like, he kept saying my sunbeam. I'm like, is he her real daddy? And the queen didn't really tell nobody, or like what was going on?
The advisor. Shout out to the advisor.
He was advising, right? So, but then I think the other thing too is just the fact of, you know, you had our main character, Sunbeam, basically, who seemed to have something else going on with her. No one really knew what it was, but it was like she finally got the opportunity to step into a leadership role, and they were like, "Nah, we're gonna give it to this other girl." So, so I think it's just more of it's just like I wish they had done a little bit more or given a little bit more thought into how they were going to bring in the bad guy, because the Invoker, I thought he really was going to do something this season, and he didn't. That's eliminated. They didn't really do much at all. And I was like, y'all had Terrorblade, which didn't. He was messing some stuff up last season. He wasn't there. Invoker really didn't do much. Silamine finally got her powers back, but they didn't do anything with that. I'm like, so what are we doing? What? And then you showed older dragons, and you didn't do jack with them.
Right.
I was like, that's my ugly that goes into that. But I was just like, come on, man. So with that, I'm gonna pause before I go into my ugly. And D, what was your bad on this?
Really like what's his name? I always get his name wrong. Davion. Like, I mean, it just I think that kind of ties into the aspect that you were mentioning about Terrorblade. And I think what I failed to realize, and as I sat back and just especially like that last episode for book 2, is that we got to realize like Terrorblade, the dragons, even though the dragons have physical form, definitely they talk about how the physical form is really like nothing because they exist in this, and there's pretty much a spirit world, if we want to call it that, and they come and go back and forth as they please, but it's the flesh is really not a big thing for them to have. They don't have to be necessarily in a physical form because sooner or later they're going to, I guess, be reincarnated. But I just think with Davion, it was more so of like the stuff he went through, the conversations he had, it was more like, okay, I feel this way, and these are my brothers for the Dragon Warriors or Knights, or, you know, I always get it wrong, or just this is how life is different, or I'm going to do A, B, and C. And it just really was like, man, reality is reality. You got to deal with it. Like, especially in the part where he went back home and like the one of the fathers, and they on, you know, that whole thing with calling dudes fathers, you know what I mean? Like, but again, these are kids, you know, it's like similar to like The Witcher. So I understand that kind of like male role model type of aspect. It was just weird. Like the elf, I forgot the elf child or woman, excuse me, I forgot her name, but she was really like, yo, this ain't right. And she was like, this ain't right. And he was just kind of like, no, even though they got me chained up, they still love me. I'm like, okay. Like, I guess.
Right. So it had some what do they call it, Stockholm syndrome going on. Heavy.
Definitely.
Heavy. Like they took what the Beast did and said, no, we're gonna take it a little bit more.
That was my bad. My ugly when we get to our ugly, it's more.
Go ahead, roll right into it because we did our bad.
I did our bad. So I'm gonna shout out the ugly is just like the whole lore setup and like the ending, like how everything just kind of was like wrapped up in a bow, you think, but it really wasn't wrapped up because Terrorblade is still in this other plane that still needs to be fought. It was just kind of, oh yeah, I did the spoiler alerts. My bad. Spoiler alert. Thanks. SciFi, I love that. I love what you did. I mean, it's just this whole. Well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because Terrorblade in book 2 is in a different plane. Like he's been in a different plane.
We just wanted to see where you was going, just in case.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it was just that whole lore, even with the whole, and I'm not gonna spoil that, but the whole situation with how Davion got chosen, and it wasn't just by random. It was also something along with him and his life. So that was really weird. And just they kind of introduced the lore with one of the fathers, and then it was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's it. And then you come to find out other people share that same aspect, and it's like, what? And it just kind of, you know what I mean? And I don't know, it just tripped me out. That's all I gotta say. Like the lore was not, if they would have started it in book 1, especially with with the mage, I forget what's the mage's name, the one that everybody was afraid of.
The
fire mage, huh?
Lena.
Yeah,
the fire mage. Yeah, the one.
Yeah,
Lena was a beast. But just that whole setup, like the quick backstory, it's like if they would have started that in book 1 and just kind of introduced or hinted to that, which they kind of did with the Davion's conversation with the dragon. I was just like, you know, it messed it all up. And then the way it ended, I was just like, whatever. That's just how I felt.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Refine, what about you? What's your ugly?
I got a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna try to keep it together.
Remember the questions. We gotta, you know.
Yeah. All right, so let me go with this one. Where I first started off, I told you it took me weeks to get into this joint. Like I kept watching it, and I'm like, it was not grabbing my attention for nothing. Even just the first episode had me pissed off. Like, why is he getting tortured? You can put spoiler alert up. Why is he getting tortured? And then later on,
talking about me, this man just dropping it.
Later on, he's in there and they just friends talking and stuff like that. Then you have the father over there. His mind just became some warped sense of reality on what he wanted to do to cure his hand from, Scary Movie 2. You gotta grab my strong hand. You gotta grab my strong hand.
That's a fact.
You want to cure his hand, and his warped mind had him doing some old BS. He did that. Ended up getting taken over by Terrorblade, technically. And it just was all over the place, man. And then you're watching all this and you say, okay, if you just tortured him and did this and now you're friends, if you got powers, why did all of a sudden you get taken out just like that? If you were supposed to be like the top tier villain, how the hell did you die so quickly? It just it wasn't making sense to me. And it was a whole lot of holes in there. They didn't correct stuff with what's the guy's name? The one the Invoker. Invoker was let me stop.
Is that the shopkeep? Who's the Invoker?
Yeah, the Invoker is the white-haired guy who has the little girl.
The one that's spoiler alert. Go ahead and put that up there.
So he went there. Yeah, he went there. He tricked the dragons, got all the souls and all that, and then they just never came together with what happened. And just
listen.
I mean, they showed it though at the end what he was going to do. They showed that diagram. Spoiler alert. Well,
but you know what? Listen. I'm just gonna go ahead. Like I said, when we first got on here, D, we gonna just drop spoilers. This has been out for a while now.
But go ahead, Saz.
All day. Let me just tell you this.
You gotta go to your ugly.
Now, let me tell you, I'm gonna make it real quick. So you guys have talked about some really good stuff here. My biggest thing is that if we're talking about Eldwurms, okay, you would think because they're all in celestial like dragons, right? That when they have a fight, you think that you would be like pretty close in battle with each other. Listen, let me explain to you why. Because they never made any clear distinction about if there were different classes between them. Now, I would tell you this much: when you think about the dragons, it makes sense to me that Chaos and Void might be on the older side or more powerful side because of what they represent. But they never set it up that way. They made it look like they all were standing around in that circle on the same level. So as far as I'm concerned, if we are an Eldwurm, me and you should be destroying everything around here. You should not be kicking my ass like you did. Just saying. So spoiler alert with that one.
Man,
that was the thing I had a problem with.
Fire.
Void is
was
awesome, but
fire.
my problem is that they also limited chaos. Because to me, is this when you think about the world and like the different characters, chaos is unpredictable. So as far as I'm concerned, the fact that you didn't even try to go with that piece just
Thank
blows my
you.
mind. Like Void, of course, he's like the in between. I get it, but he's very calculated, right? So to me, it's like, okay, you pick this, but he's like, and then like the reason that they had, we'll talk about that later, but it's gonna be a spoiler. I'm not even gonna hold back. I'm not, but
Just let
to
it
me,
fly.
it just didn't seem like there was the right person to really be pushing the narrative that they were going for. Just saying, but I'll explain later. But I do think that for some of the characters who, had a tragic end, which we do have a question about that on later. I just didn't agree with it, right? I didn't agree with it. So to me, it was like there were certain things that didn't really set with me. I get what they were trying to do, like you were saying, Mr. Refine. They have it where he's being tortured, but then you all chummy with it. And I'm like, they just took stuff from you, my dude. Had you tied? They didn't even at least say, "Hey, let's put you up in a nice room and take some blood from." They're like, "No, we're gonna string you up.
We're gonna
And
string
we just
you
gonna
up.
drain you dry." And he's like, "Okay, thanks, Father." Like, what
Yeah.
sense does this make? It didn't make any sense to me. So that would be my ugly with this whole thing. But
Let me
you know
add in
what?
this one last thing before you
Go ahead.
move forward.
Go ahead.
My other issue is the fact that, like you said, chaos. So chaos was shown, and he was like the Trojan horse, and they took out all the rest of the drag, all the rest of the
Didn't make any
Eldwurms,
sense.
right?
Make
How did that happen? And then you not use him later on? It blew my mind. Like, what sort of storyline are y'all doing here?
But yeah, I was
I was questioning everything.
But he was he did like a self-destruct, and I think y'all both are saying the same thing. And just real quickly is that because he was chaos, he just wanted like either we kill all the humans, oh y'all tripping, I'm about to just kill all y'all, and he just went out. And I think, I mean, if we're talking to your point, says about between chaos and void, even though chaos is around, like void is literally like Void said, void is literally like everything in between. Like it's nothing. I wouldn't even compare the two, because like you saw the power that he had, and that was just toying with everybody. He didn't really. Here's the thing. He didn't want to calculate. He didn't even want to kill a lot of people. He just was like, "Look, let me."
But you know what?
Get to my sunbeam, and we all good. And if you get in my way, then I guess I'm just saying that.
But you know what the problem? But the problem I have with that is that the problem I have with
let me get to my sunbeam, or it's about to be a problem.
I know here's way through, but here's my thing. Like here's the problem I have with that though, is that it was very limited, right? Like
I loved it though, but they explained it. They explained it.
No. You're not getting what I'm saying. He is overpowered, right? He's not the only one, right? Listen, he's not the only one who is overpowered as far as I'm concerned. Like to me, I feel as though they overplayed him a little much. Agreed. And didn't show what because chaos is unfucking predictable. You cannot sit there and just put him into a box like they did. It was like,
chaos
okay,
can't be void though. He can't be void.
He can.
How can he be void? How can chaos beat the blackness, the black hole, gravity, everything? How could chaos beat that?
But he's not even like a black hole.
What does that got to do with power?
No. Listen, it means a lot, and that's something that people don't understand. If you
the vacuum of space versus chaos.
No.
That's what we're talking about.
No, it's calculated. Everything that is calculated, you know what the plan is. Because he even said, and we're about to get way off topic, but screw it. He said at the end of his little spiel, his little monologue, that I went through thousands of iterations of as many infinites, and it was the same thing that was the same over and over again. It was the sun. For him, he was like, it was always like very this or that, very this or that. And it's like after a certain time, it's like you should be able eventually to figure out how he acts, how he works through the world. Chaos, you don't know what the hell he's going to do. You may get into a deal with him or a partnership, but he might still screw you over, and not in the way that you think. So to me, it was like they really played up, calculated. Like people want to shit on Batman for being, prep time. So I'm like, you can't sit here and say that the Void with his calculatedness is dope.
I was just saying because
shit on Batman.
You already know I hate Batman. Batman's a sucker.
But that's what Batman's I'm. But that's what it is. No. Listen, you got to keep it on the same level. You can't say that calculated in this universe is okay, but calculated in this one is like. Doesn't make any sense.
No, we're talking about power. Void versus chaos. You're talking about chaos is unpredictable.
Chaos.
Void literally could whoop everybody. everybody.
Chaos
He can murk
chaos can
everybody.
kill things.
You
Chaos.
use the perfect example. So let's say Chaos is the Joker. Who runs the show in that DC universe when you're talking about Chaos? The Joker. So what are we talking about here? We're not talking about somebody calculated.
But you know what the other thing about it too is when you think about the universe, the way that I view Chaos and the Void was this. Chaos would be seen as the Big Bang, that initial burst of things that led to infinite possibilities.
Yes.
The Void is basically that dark matter that we know that's in the universe that continues to expand the universe, right? We don't know about it, but we know it exists, right? So that's how I view those two, that you cannot have one more than the other. Like they both are needed for this. And you overplayed the Void without doing the same for Chaos. That to me doesn't make
I didn't take that. I just think of that the voice fire, and I love what
see, and that's where I had
one track mind.
Sunbeam nonsense.
One track
exactly.
mind.
One track mind. He was like, get out my way. You know, Chaos was like, I just either we're gonna kill all the humans or I'm about to kill all of y'all, and that's cool. And I understand where you're coming from.
Give me my sunbeam.
So here's right. Give me my sunbeam. Now here's the thing. You talking about being,
let me
do me. You being one. You talking about being one-sided. This is perfect for this. For this next question, okay? Which character was the most short-sighted out of these three? Okay?
I'm going right to it. Go
ahead. Go with it.
Viceroy Kashura, that goddamn sunbeam. He's screaming for the sunbeam 24/7, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. He all worrying about just tunnel vision. Just let me get to the sunbeam. That's all I need. And the crazy part about it is, this is perfect. Why in the hell did they have two eyes? So the first eye is who? Sunbeam, and the second eye is some globe? What the fuck is going on here?
It's a fake.
It's supposed to be a face because those two rocks. Yeah, those two rocks. Yeah, I got you.
Why is it there then?
Nobody knows. And he spent he spent 3,000 years after just being isolated from all the other dragons trying to figure out like the same thing. He was like, it has to be the sun, but we don't even know if that's right.
He's like, it's the sun. You know? He's like, it's the sun over and over again. Right. Really? Why is that not moving? I thought that was kind of interesting.
The show is hilarious when he said, and then I finally, because we're doing spoilers anyway, I finally figured it out. And like once I figured out that the worm came in physical form, then I just made sure that every iteration I tried to just be next to it, and I'm just like I'm laughing. I like the boy because he's just funny, because he's just like he literally is like a person that's been alone their whole life, which he was, and then he gets in a group of people, or not him, but the dragon gets in a group of people that's like him, or things that are like him, which are the other dragons, but he feels out of place. And then he's like,
he looked over there.
Yeah, too. I know, but I mean, and then he's like, well, that didn't work. So he's like, and then he finally attaches himself to the two rocks that he'd been trying to chase forever, and didn't even take into consideration that you are a part of this whole ecosystem. And like, but he was like, no, it can't be that, because that just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just laughing because he literally, after 3,000 years, multiple iterations, he was like, this is the one. And I was just like,
you know what? But you know what gets me? You know what? Another person that was also, another person who was really short-sighted to me was Terrorblade. And the reason why
I hate Terrorblade's trash.
Let me tell you why Terrorblade really stuck out for me on this one, because Terrorblade was like, because he was having that conversation with Evoker. It was similar to what Void was saying.
Yes.
There's been multiple iterations of this. Yeah. And Evoker was like, dude, we've been doing this dance for how long?
Wow.
We already know
Seriously.
why you're doing it, what I'm going to do. We keep playing this damn chess game, and it comes out to the same thing over and over again. Terrorblade's like, nah, son, I think I could do it differently this time. He's like, no, you can't. Like, we just literally keep trying to find another chess piece.
Terrorblade got sunned in that moment.
Like, it's like Void at least was trying to say, like, I found my purpose, so I'm just going to go do this, right? But, like, Terrorblade was like, no matter how many bits of evidence you dropped in front of him, he kept saying the same thing. I know I can beat it. And you're like, no, you can't. He's like, no, I know I can. They're like, infinite possibilities. Have you done it yet? No, but give me that one. I'll find that one. And it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, Terrorblade, like, dude, I don't know. To me, it just seemed like Terrorblade seemed to be a little bit worse than Void, because at least Void understood his place.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't lit though when they was out there in the rain and that stopped. That wasn't lit.
What happened? What was
when Terrorblade and Invoker were out there in the rain and they had that conversation?
Oh yeah.
That was lit.
Yeah, Evoker was like, I may have not seen all the different aspects of myself, but he was like, we're still having the same exact conversation. So obviously,
word for word.
that's why I say Terrorblade, like that whole aspect again. Since we're doing spoiler alerts, the whole aspect with the dragon, whose name, I just like his voice. The dude who played Candyman. Shout out to him.
Yes, Candyman.
Yeah,
Slyroth.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was like, he's like, I'm about to go to war with him in the other plane, and I'm just like, no one cares. Like, I literally don't care. I'm more focused on the Invoker and what the Invoker is trying to do, because the Invoker seems to have like a bigger picture, but you don't know, because he goes one way, but then he quietly does something else. So I think character wise, as far as antagonist, that's not really even in the shadows, that just doesn't tell people what he wants to do, I'm going with the Evoker, hands down. But Terrorblade, to answer this question so we can move on, Terrorblade was the one that was just like, bro, no one cares about you. Like, literally, we thought you was fire when you was in book 1, but literally when the Invoker talked to you, like to Mr. Refine's point, and the rain stopped, and he's just sunning, and he not only did he sun him in the rain the rain part, he sunned him when he was looking in the little chalice water thing.
Oh yeah,
just cut him off. I was like, this is hilarious, bro. It's just
so here's my thing. So we've talked about and we've dogged a lot of characters, but my real question for y'all is, who was your favorite character though?
Good question.
Let's get back to being good, right? Like, who was your favorite character?
I like a lot of characters this go around. I like, the Fire Witch. She was fire. She was just killing people. Venus. Yeah, no care. The Void, of course, because Void just was talking about my Sunbeam, and that dude, I was like, bro, you have issues.
I got
you have issues.
Wholeheartedly on that one.
We all need help, Void. I respect it though. You just you attach yourself to something, and that's what you live for. Shout out to you, Void. The Evoker definitely, probably, as far as calculations and just really sitting back and letting things play out. I mean, the Invoker to me just sees everybody as like, what the statement that the Invoker used, which I think makes Invoker number 1 to me, is that he was like, he was telling Terrorblade, like, you have to go through for you to physically be in this plane, you have to go through people, and you have to find you have to pinpoint a certain aggression or sadness or something of that nature. For me, I just see people how they are and expect them to play out their role in life the exact way that they choose to do it. And I was like, that's great. And because he assumes that for every single person, he just goes on and just does what it is that he does. I don't even think he's really like super complex as far as his thought process. He's just like, no, I just seen so many people and their reactions to things, and I'm just kind of, ever since my daughter died, spoiler alert, my heart went cold. I mean, like, facts, devote, it is what it is. So shout out to the Invoker. That's for me.
I got 2 of them actually, and they kind of level with each other. First one is the mute girl. I can't think of her name.
Marcy.
Yes.
And the main reason why I liked her as number 1 is because she could fight her ass off, but didn't say a word. She definitely whooped, and he cheated. She definitely whooped Mr. Void's ass.
In human form,
for sure, in human form.
His little barrier and all. I had that man bleeding and everything. So
that wasn't by herself though. That was with the power of Sunbeam. That was with the power of Sunbeam.
That was the Sunbeam. Sunbeam had her back though, so that's why it worked. And then number 2, my man Asar, which was also another brother, was voice acting his as well.
Yes,
the dog looking creature guy. Asar was his name. Man,
is that the dude from Stargate?
He was hilarious.
Stargate?
Yeah, he looked like one of them.
Yes.
He jumped out there like an Anubis. He jumped out there and sliced off the head of the
region.
Woman. He did that. I said, this dude came out of nowhere, but he always had Mrs. Sunbeam's back. He was loyal to the crown. He's loyal to the crown, so I liked him. He definitely did his thing. So
he said for the sun.
Listen. I'm trying to think of who my favorite character was. I mean, I think Marcy's probably one of the easiest ones because of just how she is. But I'm also trying to think of like some of the other characters. Like, I gotta say, Caden, he just came and he was the same throughout. He was like, look, yeah, we known each other, but I need to understand what the hell's going on with you.
You like that armadillo guy.
Hey, the armadillo guy was my boy. I loved him. He's like, hey.
For some reason, I felt that I was like, I'm surprised you didn't cosplay as a damn armadillo dude.
Listen, if I had it, that would have been my boy. I'd be like, hey, listen, but I just thought it's just those characters, but they were smaller in this season, right? They weren't like main focus like they were, or like at least with Kaden in the previous season. So, and Marcy, again, those two, Marcy and Kaden, is like, if you needed someone to have your back in the fight, those two would be my number two, like my number one picks, because they both were like, look, let's just get on with it. I mean, Kaden, like I said to you when we were offline, Mr. Refined, is he had the line when the two dragons were talking. He was like, y'all talk too damn much.
Oh, yeah.
He just went, and like to me, I was like, that is perfect. Like, we don't need to have a monologue with two giant dragons up here. Like, let's just get it on.
And I should add that to my ugly. Caden was on some trash stuff though. Can we be real? Like, how you hating this? Because we doing spoilers. How you hating this dragon? I understand he killed everybody, right? How you hating this dragon? And then turn around and the woman you love got a damn dragon, but you like, I hate all dragons. I'm gonna kill them all. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, come on. And that was just really weird though, because it was
the
like,
irony of it.
I know, right? But it was, and that's what just was funny to me, because I was like, you built up in book one that he's just gonna kill all the dragons just to get to this one dragon. He don't care about no dragon whatsoever. Any dragon can get it. And then you teleport to the woman, and I'm just like, I'm done with you, bro. Like, you came back and tried to redeem yourself in a fight, and I respect it, but I'm like, bro, your reasoning is trash, bro. Because if you're gonna say you hate all dragons and you're gonna kill them all, bro, I don't care if the ice dragon is with your woman or not. She got to go too, bro. Like I said, that's why I mess with the void. My sunbeam is my only concern. Everybody else can die.
No, that to me is just ridiculous. I didn't know.
That's a fact, bro.
Now here's my thing.
Real talk.
Now here's my thing. Now when we get into it with this, right? Which character death hit the hardest? Which one? Because this is big, okay? We put out spoilers.
I gotta go with it. Spoilers are all day, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm going with Oroth, the blue ice dragon.
Yes.
You said she hit the hardest?
Yeah. For me, and I'm gonna tell you why. The connection that she had with Bram, the dragon squire.
Yes.
That right, or the squire, whatever the hell he was. That right there was dope, right? So this person was somebody who didn't understand really how to fight. He was a very intelligent person. He's a squire. He was like the guy on Game of Thrones that followed the night woman around. That was Catelyn Stark. He was like that person. So to watch that relationship develop between him and Oroth, and then he liked her. He had a little crush on her, low key crush on her. And then when she changed into a human, and he did, his face had a little blush on his face and stuff.
He was like,
that.
Oh, she actually nice.
And then she gave him the little ring, and they married and stuff like that. And then she ends up getting killed later on, and he was crushed by it. That messed me up. I would have loved to have seen a relationship between them two if she would have stayed as a human. I would have absolutely loved it, because he said, I thought all this time, I was wondering how such a huge dragon had such beautiful penmanship.
Man, I laughed so hard at that. Yeah. I was dying on it. Let me tell you something. That whole thing with that one hit me the most, and I was this close to not finishing this season because of it. Because I was like, okay, first up, out of all the dragons, she's the only one who actually said, humans may be insignificant to other dragons, but to me, I can understand them, right? Like they have so much to them. They can be nice, they can be fucked up, they can be, loving, they can be mean, but it's just something about them that's just so unique. Their lifespan is so short, right? So you get to experience things in a very short amount of time. But she also just really loved humans. And when she became a human form, I just was like, oh, okay, so we got this idea of how dragons can kind of hide out. But the fact is like she knew. Now, the part that really irritated me when she first blasted him, Kashura, when he was in human form, with the ice, and they stand there talking. I hate when they do that in anime, because it's like, look, you got him frozen. Why don't y'all leave? No, I don't want to leave. Like, they should have had her do something like that, right? But then they finally have it where he, breaks out. They get into this fight, and I'm thinking, okay, she's a big dragon, but when he came out and was like, you really just screwed yourself. I was like, oh no. I was hoping that maybe, I was just like, maybe like she could do something special, or like, what's his name? Davion's dragon would come in and would like save the day. Nah. They let her get killed. And I was
just let her get smashed.
I was so upset. I was like, out of all the people you could have killed this season, why would you kill? She was like introduced the season.
You already know why. You know why. What am I gonna say?
Sunbeam.
That's right. You got in the way of my sunbeam. Get the hell out of my way.
We're not talking about him, okay?
I'm just saying. That's what the boy said. Like, I'm trying to kill you.
No,
but you got to get out of my way.
As far as I'm concerned,
it's bigger story here.
That was just not cool, whatsoever.
Is it really?
Whatsoever. You
It
know,
was a bigger story. You talking about love, you talking about companionship, and this was a very short
he had
period
so
of
much.
time.
But
They
you know what?
just like that, them two hit it off. Brahmin
And on
and
top of that,
Astroff, they hit it off quick.
but you
And
know
for
what?
her to die like that, it just pissed me off, man.
But besides the love aspect, it's just the fact of how much knowledge she had. All
Oh,
A
those
yeah.
lot
books.
of it.
We
Wrote
won't learn
everything
any of
down
that
too.
because
Yeah.
now she's
Shout out.
dead. She's
Yeah.
like out, Alucard, where they had all these libraries of books and stuff for Dracula, where he had in his library, and I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
lot of knowledge that we will never get. Poems, whatever the
Mhm.
hell she
That's
wrote
a
about.
fact. That's a
So
fact.
that to me just pissed me off. I was like, I can't. I don't even want to. Now, the real question is with Lena. Do you think she's really dead? Because they
Yeah,
showed her slumped in the chair, but do you really think she's
yeah.
dead?
Mr. Sunbeam, aka
The sun, I'm just saying.
Viceroy, the Viceroy Kashura had no, he didn't hold nothing back. He smashed Marcy like it was none. So
Come on.
he did
Like,
Lena dirty. Like Lena
Sunbeam
thought
was
she
killing
had one up on him, and that dude had a little blue purple cloud just pushed the fire back. I said, oh yeah, he about to wash her. It's over. Once I seen that, it's over.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
So,
But then I'm also
yeah.
thinking, like, then he pushed fire back onto her, right? I'm like, she really shouldn't be dead because she is the daughter of fire. So
No, he
I don't
walked her.
understand. But I don't understand how if he just blew back her fire onto
He
her, like,
didn't.
what? You get what I'm saying?
You-
Like,
He
it
did
didn't
more
just.
than that. They just didn't show it.
Yeah.
And when
No,
you
no,
paid
no, no,
attention,
no, no. That's like saying, yeah, we did all these things, but
Boyd,
no, you're doing hand
watched.
waving.
Boyd
You're doing
said, "Get
hand
out
waving.
my
No.
way, because Sunbeam is here," and
but think
nobody
about
was
this.
listening.
You know how you know she's dead? Because when they showed her in the chair, the throne or whatever,
Yep.
the view they had of her was very gloomy looking, as if she was defeated. Like there's no coming back from it. Like she was soulless. Replay that scene again. You'll see.
I know.
She
I
was
know what
dead.
you're I'm just hoping.
She was
I was
dead.
just hoping. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't no
That's
hope.
what I'm
Ain't no
saying.
hope when it comes to the void. There's only
Lena
darkness.
had nothing
You
to
go again
offer.
with that
Like she
void.
really
Here
didn't.
you go with that damn
There's
void.
just
Now
darkness
here's
and sunbeam. Ain't no hope
now
with the
we
void. Ain't no
but you know we
calculation. Ain't
now
nothing.
listen.
Ain't
But you know
no variation, or you don't know if I'm gonna turn on you. Shout out
listen.
to
I'm
chaos. It ain't nothing.
nope.
It's just
Mm-mm.
life or death. But
Now
there's
here's my thing.
always the void.
Now here's my
Shout out
thing.
to Sunbeam.
Here's my thing. We've talked a lot about the void, right? Like tons of it about him. But my thing is this, and I think we've hinted at it a little bit. Clearly, D was all for Void's purpose and
Hell
vision
yeah.
with him trying to
Get it,
get
Void.
close to Sunbeam. But like, we already know where D gonna go. If D gonna say he has no problem with it, but
Yeah.
Mr. Fine, what were your thoughts?
You didn't
Okay.
let me. You didn't even let me. What my thoughts? You didn't even.
No, because we
ask.
already know you've been praising him the entire 40 minutes we've been on here so far.
The
We
man
don't
was
need
trying
to
to keep.
hear.
He was trying to keep
No.
peace with humans. He was trying to do it
No,
all,
he
but
was
now everybody
not.
want
No,
to be
he
in their
was
own ego.
not.
He was just trying
He
to
was
keep
only-
Sunbeam happy.
No.
All right, but no,
He was only
y'all gotta
keeping
go
peace
mess
because
it
he
up.
wanted her. He wanted her around.
Her nasty uncle trying to have incest and marry her. Come on,
Nah,
man, come
listen,
on.
Viceroy give me incest sort of vibes,
Thank you.
aka Oedipus complex.
The man is
reversed some sort of way. Yeah, he
I
gave
think
me
he was
some
more-
sort of
Uncle try to
crazy
marry
vibe.
her. Can we just keep that? Can we keep that going? European culture. Y'all need to look. Y'all need to check yourselves. Come on now.
That's that reptilian stuff. They trying to keep the bloodline strong.
Yeah,
Hey.
Did it work?
No, it did not. They dying off like crazy.
Now here's my thing. But what are your guys' thoughts? Since D used to have stuff to say about Void's purpose.
Shout out to the Void.
What's y'all's view on his purpose? Like, I got my issues with it, but I'm gonna let y'all go ahead first.
I
Who
feel
wants
like
to
he
kick it off?
had none. His purpose was just to look for this thing that he thought was perfection and
Exactly.
and everything to the world, the universe, etc. I really feel like there was no purpose for this character at all. And to be honest with you, the way that she was captured by that lady with the red eyes and all that, you would have felt that Void, aka Viceroy Kashura, would have washed her based upon
but
how
he didn't.
treated Sunbeam, and he didn't. So I feel like that was kind of corny. And then at the end, just go ahead and put the spoiler alert up.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
After all of this,
I know he's going there.
searching and hoping for her to find her, and you killed Marcy, and you killed Lena. You got wiped out just like that. All she did was get mad because her friend died and wiped you out.
Exactly what he wanted.
Away by light.
Exactly what he wanted.
It was cheesy as hell. So to me, there was no purpose for this dude. He just was entertaining to just keep talking about, oh, my sunbeam.
Sunbeam.
He was entertaining to me. He had no purpose.
No, I mean, he had, again, his conception of like what is, I guess, his thing of love or connection to this, because it wasn't about Sunbeam. It was about,
he wanted to hit it.
No, he didn't.
He wanted to knock his own little news down.
3,000 years of letting the
he wanted to knock that down. My sunbeam. Ooh, you look good, sunbeam in that sundress.
Nah, man. All right.
He said, hold on.
Hold on. Okay. I definitely don't think he was doing that, because he probably wouldn't have just wanted to go ahead and die. But no, he just wanted to see her shine and die. I mean, really, that's
shine
really
and die.
Shine and die.
Yeah, but you know, that doesn't really, to me, it didn't really make any sense to me, though, right? So, like, my thing is this. When you think about when he's talking about the infinite number of times he had been in different universes, and how there was one thing that was completely constant every single time was the sun. To me, as the void, because he's calculated, I don't think he would be so obsessed over this one thing being there all the time, right? Because you're very calculated. You're expecting things to be in a certain way. And like you said, we're trying to maintain order. We're trying to maintain this balance.
But you see what
hold on.
Let's finish.
And so to me, I just thought it was pretty interesting, because I'm like, to me, from the other side of it, it would seem more of an obsession from chaos, because chaos is like, it doesn't make any sense for things to be. Hold on. No,
you and this chaos.
I'm
go ahead.
Mute
Y'all
you.
finish.
No,
I'm just laughing. Chaos has been dead since book 1, but go ahead.
No. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why it doesn't make any sense to me is because chaos, again, is based off of randomness. So if you keep going into all these different infinities and then you see this one thing over and over again being the same, it's the same pool, you feel something's about it, I would think you would become more obsessed with trying to destroy it, or at least trying to figure out what the hell it is. Void, on the other hand, it just seemed like it was more of like, it didn't make sense to me. It just really didn't make sense to me. So to me, it was like, it didn't come off like I've learned all these great secrets, and now I just want to lay in the light type of a thing. Like, it didn't really make sense to me. Like, he started off as a dragon, learned the old ways, and reached a higher power. Which to me, it's like, so you didn't really start off as an Eldwurm. You made your way up to that status from learning things. But then it's like, what about the other dragons? They too also start off as regular dragons and make their way up, or what? To me, it seems as though the two dragons that seem to be the oldest would be Chaos and Void. And out of that, if you think about it from a universe thing I was talking about earlier, where chaos is like the Big Bang, the void is this dark matter in between, the other elements would spring out from them, which is why he might be able to beat Skylark and all the other elemental dragons. But that's just me. That to me would have made more sense. But again, I'm not the one who wrote the show. I just didn't appreciate the fact that the void was just like obsessed with her. Like you said, he disappeared in the light. He came out of left field completely. And then, like I said, you're just going to do my boy Chaos. Like, okay, he killed off all the dragons, great. And then he
y'all feel some type of way about Chaos.
Yeah, just like you feel the same way about the void. That's how I feel.
No, I'm not tripping about the void. I just like the void because he's funny.
I'm triggered because I did not.
You're triggered. I'm laughing because the void. It wasn't her. It was the aspect of the sun. The sun are these two rocks that were power. Came and he was like, again, he went through the 3,000 years, or whatever multiple dimensions he went through. It was nothing about order. He wasn't trying to keep order. He just was like, oh, this is boring. And he was like, and everything comes to an end.
Was trying to keep
the only constant is the sun.
What did he say to Lena? What did he say to Lena about empires? Right? What did he say about emperors? He said they work like a machine. Machines are order. Okay. Gotcha. He said you play your role to keep the machine going. When you, like people like you, Lena, try to change it, you fall into the machine and it breaks apart. I can't have you do that. He was trying to maintain order.
Gotcha. Okay.
Got you. But then check this out too. Suds, like you said, this is the thing that I'm questioning also. For someone who went through all these different iterations of life, et cetera, what was your purpose at the end of the day? What was it that you were seeking? Now you found the sunbeam. Okay, now what? What are you doing next? He had no real purpose. He had nothing that was special about him, even for him to be as powerful as he was. I didn't see anything special about him. He could have just been washed away, because once he found out what the importance in his mind was to the universe, he still continued the same behavior. So to me, he was pointless.
Period. Right. He was like Terrorblade. He was like the Invoker. They keep
Thank
doing
you.
the same thing over and over again, hoping for something different. Now, Evoker might be a little bit different because he's like, I know what's going to happen, so I just need to continue to play my role so Terrorblade doesn't get out of order. But to me, it's like Terrorblade and Void. They didn't really have any depth to them, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it was more like, hey, I'm on this one track thing, and if you get in my way, I'm taking you out. If not, you can be a part of this. But it didn't really make sense to me. And like, I don't know. I just hate that they killed off some of my favorite characters, that they had the Void overpowered against another Eldwurm. Like, those are my biggest issues that I have with it. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
But I know D loves the Void, so I won't talk about
I'm
it
just
too much.
again the only person again when he started rampaging for his Sunbeam, it was just fun.
I will say when they were fighting, I thought it was dope. I was like, dude, is like,
He's strong
I'm like,
as hell.
I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm saying. And he wasn't even the thing was he wasn't trying. He didn't want to kill people. He just said, hey, to your point, I'll agree with you. Yes, he wanted order to function because again, he's been through so many iterations, but it had nothing to
agree with me.
No, I agree with you. But it has nothing. I know I did. I said it had but it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with the people. He just wanted to make sure that he could get his Sunbeam to shine bright like he's seen before, and he wanted to cultivate it so it didn't disappear. The dude was obsessed. We already on the same page.
He was obsessed.
But I'm just laughing because nobody else outside of the Void, honestly, whether it was because again, Chaos, they made him just two-dimensional. Either we kill all humans or we're weak.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense.
But the thing is, that's how they wrote him. So when he killed all the other dragons, I was like, all right, that's fine. I mean, it didn't really bother me. Like you weren't like you were just kind of there. Like Void was like, I'm better. He was like, I'm stronger than all of y'all. I literally been and not through the space and whatever. It's just like I didn't have the connection
around.
And even whatchamacallit, what's the I always get the dragon's name wrong.
Slyrak.
Even Slyrak said you've lost your way, but again, he even mentioned in his monologue, well, the Void even mentioned in his monologue, I was in the astral plane, or whatever, by myself for he doesn't even know how long of a time when all the other dragons were together. They were saying we're one with the earthworm or whatever, the sun, the universe, whatever the hell it was. And it was just funny to me because
you said earthworm.
Worm.
Earthworm Jim.
What did they call it? What do they call it? What worm did he mention?
The world worm.
World worm. Okay, whatever. The universe, whatever. But
the Earthworm Jim.
Earthworm. I mean, it's just funny. Like he's just a funny character. That's all. He was just the most powerful, the one that have we seen. That's all. So I just like the Void because he was one track minded. He didn't let anybody get in the way. He said, "This is how I want things to be ran. If you get in my way, I've let it go on long enough. I'll let you Sunbeam." Yeah, he was. I mean, the funny thing is, people like the Joker, but they don't like the Void. I'm just trying to understand.
No, but here's the thing.
What did y'all want Chaos to do? Can I ask that question?
Chaos is the Joker.
But what did y'all want Chaos to do?
This is what I'm trying to get at. What I'm getting at it. This is what I'm getting at. All the dragons seem very one-dimensional to me. Like that to me is like you've been around
Chaos
for how long?
One-dimensional. Kill everybody.
Did you not hear what I said? I said all of the dragons were one-dimensional. That's the problem that I have with it. I'm like, you have these dragons that have been around for how long, and this is all they really come down to. And then on top of that, what did I want Chaos to do? It would have been dope to see these two overpowered dragons really fight it out. I mean, Skyrak got his ass kicked. He got thrown into a mountain.
As Chaos would have with the Void.
I don't think but we don't know that. See, and that's the problem.
Why are you holding on to Chaos so much? I'm just trying to understand. Like you don't even know if Chaos was one of the stronger dragons. I'm just
Chaos might have had hands. We don't know that.
Again, y'all just y'all in love with Chaos. Y'all wanted him to be there.
But listen, you're not.
I'm just laughing because he's dead.
No, listen.
We trying to say what if?
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm getting at, though. That's the whole point of the debate is to try and understand. What about these dragons? Like everybody saw what Void can do. We don't know what any of the other dragons can do. Like none of them.
Thank you.
And this is what I'm getting at. You cannot sit here and say Void was the shit. It's like, yeah, of course, because that's how they wrote them. We don't know what the other dragons can do.
I'm just going off of what we saw. That's all.
All I'm getting at is if Chaos could sit there and self-destruct and kill off all the other dragons like that, that to me says something. Like, okay, well, what else can he do? You
They
get
didn't even
nothing
try
else
to
with
put up
him.
a fight because again, they were in the space where all of them were supposed to be family. Is what I'm trying to get at. Like, it's
Right.
not like
But
you're
if you
just
didn't
because
have
Chaos
chaos,
self-destructed, it's not like it doesn't mean that he was stronger than all of the other dragons. They just in that plane, they didn't fight each other. Chaos
okay.
was
So this is
working with Terrorblade,
what
and
I'm
I mean
getting
not
at is
Terrorblade,
this.
but the Invoker. That's all I'm saying. Like,
What
come
I'm
on
getting
now.
at is
Let's
this.
not like
What I,
overread into it. That's I
I'm not
mean,
overreading into it. What I'm
like,
getting, what
he
I think you're
self-destructed
also,
when all of them were
no,
just
I'm not.
chilling. Like, that's
What you're
just like
not
that's like if
getting,
your family member come to your house,
Lord,
you're all sitting down having a good time, and they just
I'm
blow off
sorry,
a
like you
bomb. I'm
see,
just saying, like,
I'm gonna
chaos.
have to like
You're just
Neal
in
on
love
this
with
one.
chaos, and chaos
It
didn't
Nah,
come
does.
I agree
through.
with Suds on this. They
Thank
never gave
you.
any of the other dragons a chance to shine. All you did is
Agreed.
made it seem
Nothing. They
like
never
But that
gave
doesn't
him.
mean
They
chaos
never
is the
the
gave him
man.
any.
strongest. Is all I'm saying, or even
I'm
in
not
the
saying that
same
he is.
realm.
I'm not saying what he is. All I'm getting at is if you talk about what they are as elements or whatever the case may be, chaos and void would be higher than a fire, than electric, than any other type of elemental dragon that is out there because they are not tied to one type of element. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like out of all the dragons that sat at that table, those two to me should be the strongest. And we never got a chance to see anybody sit
Right.
there and go toe to toe with
Yeah,
Void. And
not
that's
at
the
all.
thing that bothered me the most about
I
it. I'm
got you.
like,
I agree. Because there was
the
another
hell?
dragon that's even bigger than the Void.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
can't. That's who I wanted to know
yeah,
about.
exactly. But and he was the
That's who I
calmest.
wanted to know
He
about.
was the calmest out of all of them, and he didn't do much talking. And everybody, when he did say a word, though, everybody was
Everybody
just
listen.
quiet. Yep.
Yep. That's who I
Yeah.
shouted out on the first
Yeah,
episode.
you
Talking
did,
about that one.
and I respect it, Ren, because it's not. I'm not disagreeing. I was just like, Chaos is like he's not. It's not even that he's dead. He just has the souls. The Invoker has the souls of them because he worked something out with Chaos.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
think
they
that was trash.
dead.
I think that was trash of
they
Chaos
can
too,
still
though.
come
It's
back.
like you're about to go with the Invoker because of what? Like, and we don't know the only plan that we know of from the Invoker is that picture that they showed at the end, and we don't even know what that is because they didn't put anything in the actual diagram for us to understand it. But obviously, it's some type of power generator type of thing, at least from watching anime and reading comics and everything like that. So, again, season 3. Because I know we've been talking a long time about the Void and all that. But book 3, if they even do a book 3, like, I mean, will I watch it? Yeah, because I think some parts of this, to Mr. Refine's point, this show is like, when it comes to fighting, the fighting scenes, hands down, this is probably one of the best in that type of drawing style. And like it just make it happen. And I just think that the way that they did book 2 and the way that they it almost seemed like they rushed it through so that they can get to Terrorblade. But again, Terrorblade is probably super strong in the plane that he's in, kind of like with Doctor Strange, which you got Dormammu, Nightmare, and all of them. They're strong in their realm. But when it comes physically to the when they get here to the physical plane, it's not necessarily that case. So
Terrorblade reminds me of what's the thing that Storm fights? The Astro King.
Oh yeah, the Shadow King. Shadow King.
Shadow King. That's what Terrorblade reminds me of.
Facts.
So what I think should happen next season, because they left a lot of holes, specifically with what's happening with these souls. Like you see, you think he's creating a generator. Excuse me. That whether he's doing that or not, that's neither here nor there. They need to finish off the holes on that. They need to finish off what's going on with what's her name, Salamine and also Femorin.
And the Moon Queen, yeah. They need to figure out what's going on with them.
Because Femorin was special since day one, so they need to answer that question. They definitely have to really, really go back into what's going on with these dragons. And I don't want to see nothing about this goddamn Invoker. He's not special to me. They got to move off this dude. They need to do something else.
Unless they're going to bring anything more in with his kid or Salamine, maybe because those two are so intimately tied to one another, right? And I think the part about how she didn't take the child and the child kept coming to her for love and she didn't ignore, to me, that puts so much more into that story because he's like, chick, do you know what you did to our kid? All our kid when it was love and you weren't even there. It's like the typical, like they always like to paint fathers in bad way. Like she was a bad mom. That's what I want to get at.
I want to say something about Salamine and when she actually lost her powers. Because again, we're doing spoilers. Go ahead and put the spoiler alert up there. For her to be like, her powers only come from people actually worshiping her and literally. Because she lost her powers, and when even the Invoker, like, I want to be honest about the Invoker and why I like him as a character. He knew in my mind, at least from watching the show and how he's trying to act like everything is all calculated, because not calculated, but everything is kind of like it is what it is.
To repeat.
Because people will always be who they are, or things will always be who they are. He knew, in my mind, by telling Selimine that your daughter worships you, and gave her and then let her read the book, her diary, and saw that she was always praying to see her mother. Like, come on now. And then he set up the elf. What was the elf's name again? The woman?
Oh yeah.
Memory?
The one that could do the shadow step and kick everybody, but
the
one that was the alpha in the relationship. Like for her, like I think he
no, I know who you're talking about.
I think that he knew that she wasn't. He said it, like he even said it when he talked to Terrorblade. I knew everybody was gonna go according to who they are. He knew that she wasn't gonna wash the mother of his child. Like he already knew that. So I'm just like, what was that whole drawn out thing? That's what what I was talking about my ugly for book 2. It was like, well, for the Invoker, it's like the funny thing is for me, and hopefully they show this, which they probably are when they finish this series, is that, bro, like you to Mr. Refine's point, not only is he nothing special, you're acting the same way emotionally that you try to act like you don't have any emotion to with everybody else. And so so Terrorblade, unless Terrorblade comes to the physical realm, at least in the show, like really, even with Terrorblade, to Mr. Refine's point, it's like, okay, bro, like no one cares, even if you showed up in your physical form at your height of your power, like you're boring as an antagonist. Like, and it's like, and even the Invoker, like you're only going to go one or two routes. You're going to become this just ice cold blooded person, ice cold blooded entity, and then rule or manipulate things the way they should be to maybe get your daughter back. Maybe that's his bottom line. And as a father with a daughter, yeah, if you're doing all that to get your daughter back, hands down, you got to do what you got to do. But if that's not the case, and you just doing that because you're hurt and there's really no way to get her back, but you're using Terrorblade because and that's what I feel like he's doing. He's using everybody to some goal, and I hope that goal is to get your daughter back, because then I could be like, okay, I'll give you more kudos.
Again, that's the logic behind it, but I don't think they're gonna do that.
Exactly. And then if he doesn't do that, then I'm just kind of like, that's kind of boring, bro. Like, what are you doing then?
Now ask this other question. It's the last question you asked in that question of what should they cover next season. That Davion no longer is connected to Davion, aka Little Mouse.
So when are you gonna do it? Right.
Slyrack. So what is he doing? So.
Exactly.
Nothing, because
you do realize
he was born too without Slyrack after the first couple episodes. I mean, the first couple episodes of book 2.
Yeah.
But I would tell you this much: if he dies, like when he goes and fights, and when he dies, that's it. Like you ain't about to do no cool, like let me splat. You ain't gonna have that anymore.
And honestly, with Davion right now, if he dies, I don't even care. I'm just
he might be all right because he got Sunbeam watching over him.
Sunbeam, baby. Hey.
No, here we go. Now with that.
We already at 6 o'clock.
Like I said, this concludes this episode of our comeback. But next time, which will be in a couple of weeks,
let's get it. We
are going to be going into Concrete Comics, which, as you can see here, they have a slew of stories that they have, and it's going to be.
Oh, you didn't put up Decimation Earth either?
Hold on. See, I'm trying to save some, So this here is a collective of Black artists and creators and writers. What I like about it is that this was established a few years ago, but they have done a ton of work. Beautiful artwork, beautiful stories, and it's not only just Black men but Black women who are working together to create these stories. So we are excited to have them up, especially since this is Women's History Month. We're hoping to have some of their women creators up on our show the next time, which would be on March 24th. So I'm really excited for this. I'm excited to talk about this, to have it where we can actually kind of dig a little bit deeper into the stories, their inspiration, and then just talk about how they've created a safe space, especially in this industry of creating and comic book writing, a space for women to feel heard, seen, and to be able to participate in this. So I'm really excited for that. I cannot wait. I just want to say it was great having you guys back up here. I hope you guys enjoyed. We actually stayed on time. We had new graphics, so I'm excited about it. So just wanted to say I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you in the next episode. So remember to stay nerdy, and we will see you guys in a little bit. All right, see you guys.
Catch y'all next episode. You know what it is.
Next episode.
Hey.